Back in the late 90s, early 2000s, Stapleton Road in Easton in Bristol was widely regarded as one of, if not the most dangerous roads in the country. Whether it actually was the worst road in the country or not is obviously up for debate, but the facts don't lie, it was crazy dangerous. We're talking murders, serious assaults, pimps running the show, crazy drug problems, it had it all. Today, Stapleton Road and the whole area of Easton still has a very bad reputation, and that's not just conjecture on my part. After releasing a video covering the top 5 most dangerous areas in Bristol, even though Easton's crime rate on paper doesn't place it in the top 5, I've received loads of comments from locals telling me that St Paul's and Easton are two of the most dangerous areas in Bristol. I released a video on St Paul's already, which really was as bad as you guys told me, and I recommend checking out after this one. But here's what I found when I spent a few hours in Easton. So here is the infamous Stapleton Road. It's a busy road lined with shops and small businesses, as you can see. Wikipedia describes it as a major thoroughfare that is very culturally diverse and has a reputation for having a high crime rate. And I would say that's a fairly accurate description. Now obviously I was there in the daytime during a weekday, so I was less likely to run into any trouble as I would be at night. But browsing the headlines, you don't have to go back too far this year to see some pretty wild crimes that have happened on Stapleton Road. There have been numerous stabbings and serious assaults, endless arrests to do with drugs and other antisocial behaviour, and I could go on to be honest. I'm sure it will have its defenders, even in the face of overwhelming evidence that it's not a safe place to be at certain times. And I will say as a plus point that Stapleton Road is nowhere near as bad as it used to be, which is a plus, but it's clearly still not a safe area. There's a lot more to Easton than just Stapleton Road, of course. Just around the corner there is St Mark's Road, which has been nominated for various multicultural awards and even named as one of the greatest streets in the UK apparently. I stopped for a coffee here and it did feel like the posh stepbrother to Stapleton Road. It was more hipster and there was a totally different vibe. But I wouldn't let your guard down if you're visiting. You're still in Easton and you are just around the corner from Stapleton Road at the end of the day. Moving on to the housing estates in Easton, it's very Bristol, I'll give it that. Most surfaces other than the front of most houses have been tagged up. There's litter all over the place and loads of large items fly tipped. Looking at the demographics data published by the council, you can see that Easton is more diverse than the Bristol average, but it's far from being one of the most diverse areas in Bristol. As I mentioned earlier, Easton doesn't actually appear in the top 5 highest crime areas in Bristol on paper, but there are a number of reasons for this, and it doesn't mean that it isn't one of the most dangerous areas. This is why it's always wise to listen to locals, and that's exactly what I've done. You guys tell me it's one of the most dangerous areas, so I believe you. Even so, Easton still has a crime rate of almost double the UK average, and just reading through some of the headlines, it's clear that the nature of the crimes here do get pretty serious. One thing that always hits me when I'm in Bristol in particular is that there are so many of these large multi-storey properties that were clearly very grand homes at one point, and it's really sad to see this level of decay on such a large scale across the city. It's not all concrete jungle and graffiti, there are a couple of large green spaces in Easton. I mean, okay, these areas have also been trashed for the most part. You're going to find a sofa or two dumped. And you do have to be careful where you step so that you don't get Hep B from a used needle. But all of that aside, if you want to escape the rat run of tightly packed terrace housing and permit-only parking, there are some green spaces. And at least this guy seems to be having a chill time. This is as good a time as any to mention the always ridiculous house prices in Bristol. According to Rightmove, the average house price in Easton over the last year was in the 337,000 range. So what to make of Easton? Well, it doesn't seem to be as bad as it once was, obviously. It's never going to shake that reputation of being home to what was once known as the most dangerous road in the UK, which is Stapleton Road. Plus, all of the current day stats, the headlines and the testimonies from people living in Bristol paint a picture of an area that is still very dangerous, certainly after dark. Even walking around Easton during the day, the volume of litter, fly tipping, discarded drug paraphernalia, and just a general eyesore for urban decay is hard to ignore. I don't do this to suggest solutions, but I do love hearing your thoughts. Feel free to drop a comment below.